What if the fastest weapon in modern warfare isn't a missile, but a decision? 2 American service members are killed. Another is missing. Less than 24 hours later, American aircraft are already striking inside Iran, not the following week, not after months of planning the very next day. To many people, this looks like simple retaliation, a nation responding with force. But how does a military identify the right target, approve the mission, launch aircraft, coordinate allies, and deliver precision strikes before the battlefield has even settled? Because speed like that doesn't begin with bombs. It begins with information. Look at the timeline. An attack hits American forces. Reports flood into regional headquarters. Satellite feeds update. Signals intelligence starts listening. Drones remain overhead. Somewhere inside CENTCOM, hundreds of separate pieces of information begin moving toward one conclusion. Not simply who attacked, but who gave the order. That distinction changes everything. Because in modern war, finding the shooter is useful, finding the decision maker. The hero of this story is not the FA, not the B-FA bomber, not even the cruise missile. It is the FA kill chain FA. A phrase that sounds technical, but is actually one of the most important strategic concepts in modern warfare. A kill chain is simply the journey from seeing to understanding, to deciding, to striking. Every second saved along that journey changes the battlefield. And every second lost gives the enemy another opportunity to disappear. Now imagine a digital map stretching across the Middle East. Jordan, Iraq, the Persian Gulf, the Strait of Hormuz. Every American radar, every reconnaissance drone, every satellite, every intelligence platform contributes another tiny piece of the picture. Individually, none of them knows very much together. They begin seeing everything. That is the first revelation. The aircraft wasn't America's greatest advantage. The network was. But here is the problem. Networks create a new kind of vulnerability. The faster you want to respond, the more confidence you must have in your strike too slowly, the target escapes. Strike too quickly, you may hit the wrong target. Modern warfare is no longer a competition between weapons. It is becoming a competition between decisions. Who can decide faster without deciding incorrectly? This challenge didn't begin yesterday. Go back to the wars of the 20th century. Commanders often waited hours, sometimes days. Reconnaissance aircraft developed film. Reports moved through multiple headquarters. Orders traveled by radio before reaching frontline units. Time separated information from action. Today, artificial intelligence filters imagery in seconds. Signals intelligence identifies electronic emissions almost instantly. Satellite constellations revisit targets repeatedly throughout the day. Information no longer waits for commanders. Commanders struggle to keep up with information. Now shift the camera. A dimly lit operations center, large digital displays cover the walls, colored symbols move across the map. One icon flashes, an unidentified transmission. Another appears, a convoy leaving before dawn. A drone confirms unusual activity. None of these observations matter alone, but together they reveal intent. The lesson here is that modern intelligence rarely depends on dramatic discoveries. It depends on patterns, and patterns create confidence. Confidence creates decisions. The part most people miss is that retaliation itself sends 2 different messages. The obvious message is military. If you attack us, we will strike back. Everyone understands that, but the hidden message is technological. We can find you before you can relocate. That may be even more important because mobility has protected military organizations for generations. If rapid intelligence compresses that advantage, every commander must rethink how they survive. Now move south. The Strait of Hormuz appears almost peaceful from orbit. Commercial tankers continue moving through narrow shipping lanes. Oil markets remain open. Insurance companies monitor risk by the minute. The military battle appears distant. Yet every strike changes calculations far beyond the battlefield. A successful retaliatory campaign reassures allies. It pressures adversaries. It influences energy markets. It shapes diplomatic conversations taking place thousands of miles away. One military decision creates political consequences across continents. But here is another contradiction. Rapid retaliation demonstrates strength. It also creates expectations. Once allies become accustomed to immediate responses, few adversaries notice too. Speed becomes part of deterrence, and deterrence becomes another battlefield entirely. That means maintaining rapid response isn't simply an operational challenge. It becomes a political commitment, one that grows more demanding with every successful mission. Now picture Iran's command structure. Officers receive reports of incoming strikes. Communications networks light up. Regional commanders request guidance. Missile units await authorization. The physical explosions matter, but something else is happening simultaneously. Every headquarters begins asking the same question. How much time do we still have? That question is more dangerous than any bomb, because uncertainty spreads through organizations faster than destruction ever can. Strategically, this changes the campaign. Earlier phases focused on military hardware, missiles, launchers, storage depots, infrastructure. Now the emphasis appears increasingly focused on compressing the enemy's decision, making timeline. The objective is no longer simply reducing capability. It is reducing opportunity. And those are very different forms of warfare. Look one final time at the timeline. Attack, identification, authorization, launch, strike. It all happens with astonishing speed. Everyone watching sees the final explosion. Everyone debates the aircraft. Everyone counts the destroyed targets. But almost nobody watches the journey that made those explosions possible. Because the real weapon may never have left the operations center at all. It may have been the speed at which information became action. Everyone thinks this battle is about retaliation, but the real battle is about who can complete the decision cycle first. That is the invisible battlefield, not missiles, not aircraft, not drones. Because in modern war, the side that understands first often strikes first, and the side that strikes first forces everyone else to react. Imagine two command centers. One belongs to the United States. The other belongs to Iran. Both receive the same report: a missile launch has been detected. Now the race begins, not a race of aircraft, a race of understanding which report is accurate. Is it a decoy? Is this the main attack or merely a distraction? Should forces disperse? Should they wait? Should they retaliate immediately? Every unanswered question consumes seconds. Those seconds become the real battlefield. The lesson here is that information has changed the meaning of speed. For most of military history, speed meant faster aircraft, faster missiles. Today, speed increasingly means something else. Faster confidence. The commander who reaches a reliable conclusion first gains options. The commander who hesitates inherits fewer choices. Modern warfare rewards certainty more than velocity. Now shift the camera far above the Middle East. A constellation of satellites quietly crosses the night sky. Below them, reconnaissance drones orbit without interruption. Electronic surveillance aircraft listen to radar emissions. Cyber operators monitor digital activity. Artificial intelligence compares millions of data points that no human analyst could process in real time. None of these systems destroys a target. They simply reduce uncertainty. That reduction may be more valuable than another squadron of fighters. But here's the problem. As information becomes faster, deception becomes more valuable. Military convoys deploy inflatable decoys. Command posts relocate more frequently. Electronic emitters imitate real headquarters. False radio traffic fills the spectrum. The more one side relies on information, the more the other side tries to poison it. The battlefield becomes a contest over reality itself. Now move into an underground command center. A large display suddenly goes dark. backup communications activate. Officers begin receiving conflicting reports. One says an air defense battery is operational. Another says it has already been destroyed. Which report should they trust? Nobody knows that uncertainty slowing decisions may be exactly what the attacker wanted. The explosion was only the beginning. Confusion is the real objective. This changes everything because destroying equipment is temporary. Destroying confidence is cumulative. A missile launcher can be replaced. A damaged runway can be repaired. A lost radar can be rebuilt. But once commanders begin questioning the reliability of every report, every future decision becomes more cautious. Momentum quietly shifts without another bomb being dropped. Now widen the frame. Thousands of miles away, oil traders watch the same conflict unfold. Insurance companies recalculate maritime risk. Governments review strategic petroleum reserves. Military operations influence financial markets within minutes. Energy influences diplomacy. Diplomacy influences military planning. Military planning influences energy. Again, the cycle never stops. That is why conflicts around the Persian Gulf rarely remain regional. The geography forces the entire world to pay attention. The part most people miss is that the kill chain extends far beyond the military. Industrial production determines how quickly precision weapons can be replaced. Alliances determine where intelligence can be collected. Commercial satellites provide imagery. Artificial intelligence accelerates analysis. Secure supply chains sustain operations. Even civilian telecommunications infrastructure contributes to military awareness. The battlefield is no longer confined to soldiers. It includes engineers, software developers, manufacturers, analysts, shipping companies, financial institutions. Modern war has become an ecosystem. Strategically, this changes how militaries think about victory. For generations, victory often meant occupying territory. Today, it increasingly means maintaining decision superiority. If one side consistently identifies threats faster, coordinates responses faster, and adapts faster, it creates pressure long before territorial control changes. The center of gravity quietly shifts from geography to cognition. Now imagine military planners in countries far beyond the Middle East. Some are studying Taiwan, others Eastern Europe, others the Korean Peninsula. They are not only watching the explosions, they are timing the response. How quickly were targets identified? How quickly were allies coordinated? How quickly did intelligence become action? Because tomorrow's doctrine will be written from today's observations. Every conflict becomes someone else's military classroom. I think the biggest lesson here is that modern warfare is entering a new phase. For decades, nations invested enormous resources making weapons more lethal. Now they are investing just as heavily in making decisions faster. Artificial intelligence, autonomous sensors, distributed command networks, cloud-based battlefield management. The objective is no longer simply striking harder. It is deciding sooner, because the first accurate decision often determines everything that follows. Return to the hero of our story, the kill chain. Most people imagine it as a sequence. Find, fix, track target, engage, assess. But perhaps that definition is already outdated. The kill chain is becoming a learning chain. Every strike generates new intelligence. Every response reveals new behavior. Every adaptation teaches the opponent something. The side that learns faster continuously shortens its own decision cycle while lengthening its enemies. That may become the defining advantage of 21st century warfare. So perhaps the most important image is not a missile leaving its launcher. It is a commander staring at a screen, waiting for one more piece of information before making an irreversible decision, because that moment exists in every modern conflict. It determines when aircraft launch, when ships move, when alliances respond, when diplomacy fails, and increasingly, artificial intelligence is standing beside that commander, reducing uncertainty one data point at a time. That partnership may shape the next generation of warfare more than any individual weapon ever built. Fate, the question is no longer who possesses the most powerful missiles. Okay, so the real question is who can keep making faster, better decisions after every new piece of information changes the battlefield. So let me ask you this. As artificial intelligence, autonomous systems, and global sensor networks continue accelerating military decision making, do you believe future wars will be won by superior firepower?